Hey guys, this is Patrick with MT Knives, here to answer a question for the Expert Council. The question comes from Cody Matthews of Cross-Eyed Tactical. He says, Jack, I'm new to your podcast and podcasting in general, but I'm enjoying your podcast and learning a lot. I have a knife question for you. What angles do you and Patrick recommend for all the different types of blades? I would like to know about everything from kitchen knives, bush knives, general pocket knives, tactical knives, or even axes. My grandfather has a professional knife belt sharpener that I can use, but he sharpens basically everything at the same angle. Thanks for your help, Cody. What a great question. What angle do you sharpen at? For somebody just starting out sharpening, it's fine to go ahead and use one angle, and a good angle, rule of thumb, as you hear a lot, 22 and a half degrees. So that's a great starting point for somebody that's just getting into sharpening. But over time, it's good to start learning the proper angles for the proper knife, steel, and the purpose that you're using it for. So there's really three things that determine the proper angle to sharpen a knife. First thing is purpose. You're going to sharpen a kitchen knife differently than an axe or a tactical knife. The next thing would be your steel. Different steels are, you've got your good steels, and you've got your, frankly, they shouldn't even be used for a knife steel. And with a good steel, you can hold a nice keen edge, and it's going to hold that edge. It's going to take the edge and hold it better, longer. If you got some crappy steel, your best bet is just putting a really obtuse angle on it, because it's not going to hold. It's not going to hold that edge if you try to drop down and get into the cutting performance that you're going to get out of a higher quality steel. And the third thing is the person using the knife. Most chefs would not let anybody just pick up their knife and use their knife, because if you don't know how to use that knife, there's a good chance you're going to ruin it. I try to teach people how to properly use knives all the time, because really, the way a person uses that knife is a big portion of how well that edge is going to hold. You can take the edge off of a knife in a matter of seconds. Just one mishap or hitting the edge up against anything that's harder than the steel or just as hard as the steel is going to cause that edge to roll over. And that even comes down to, with your steeper angles, like say a 30-degree edge, you can still take that edge right off by abusing the knife. So with that being said, let me go into some of the categories, and we'll start off with the lowest angles. And when I'm talking about angles, what I want you to understand here is most knives are sharpened on both sides. So if I say a 20-degree edge, that is a 40-degree overall blade geometry. So it starts off with your lowest angle that you're going to go is between 5 and 8 degrees. And this is what you're going to find typically on like a razor or like some super high-end kitchen knives designed for cutting real soft materials like meat, stuff like that. You're really not going to find too many kitchen knives even with that low of an angle. But if you do the 2-penny trick like I teach and some other people teach, that really is about 6 degrees, 12 overall. But that also gives into account some fluctuation from the person sharpening by hand. So you're going to end up with about a 16, 17 degree edge on a kitchen knife. 5 to 8 degrees per side, so 10 to 16 degrees overall. Your next stage is going to be 8 to 15 degrees per side, or 16 to 30 degrees overall. And that's going to be your premium kitchen knives, your good quality steel. You can really drop it down to a low angle and put a just screaming sharp edge on it. Next is 15 to 20 degrees, or 30 to 40 overall. This is getting into the category of like most other knives for the kitchen, paring knives, such like that. And then you get up into 20 to 25 or 40 to 50 degree overall edge. And this is where cheap knives with cheap steel, I would suggest somewhere between 20 and 25 degree, 40 to 50 degree overall edge. That is a great robust edge, even with a cheaper steel that's going to hold up and do well under most normal tasks, not doing any chopping or such things like that. And last, we're going to talk about 25 to 30 plus degrees. This is where like axes, cleavers. Now what do I do for my knives? The Genesis neck knife, I sharpen at about 19 degrees per side. So that's an overall of 38 degrees. If I'm sharpening by hand, a lot of times I'm coming in somewhere around 17 degrees, 34 degrees overall. The best thing about keeping your angle low is if you experience that your edge is not holding up as long as you want, or it's rolling or chipping or whatever, it's real easy to take that angle and make it more robust than it is to go from a robust edge down to a finer edge. I sharpened 3 knives up here, one at 15 degrees, one at 19 degrees, and one at 25 degrees per side. And these are the Genesis 2. So this one here is 15 degrees. If you see how thick that bevel is, the lower you go, the higher that primary edge is going to come up on the blade. And I want to do a cutting test and kind of compare these. And I haven't even tested these out yet, so I'm not even really sure. I know kind of what to expect, but so with 15 degrees, it's just cutting beautiful. But this edge will experience damage. This edge is more likely to be damaged when you start cutting wood and hitting things that are getting a little bit harder. Next, the 19 degree edge. So you can hear it, it's louder, there's more resistance, still cuts really well. And like I said, 19 degrees, that's what I do on my knives typically, the Genesis. And then 25 degrees, see, there isn't much of a primary edge there. The other advantage that a knife maker would have, keeping his angles more obtuse, is it's a lot less work to sharpen a knife like this than it is the 15 degree. The 15 degree actually took 2 to 3 times the amount of grinding that this knife took, because you have a lot more steel to remove. So let's see how this one performs. Still sharp, but as you can tell, nowhere near as sharp as what I like. And these knives were done all exactly the same. Same process, same belts, sharpened at the same time. That's just the difference that you get from different blade geometries. So I think that's a pretty good visual. You get a pretty good idea of the difference performance of all 3 of these knives are the Gen 2s, the exact same steel, simply different angles. So I hope you enjoyed this demonstration. As you start to use knives like sharpening axes and kitchen knives, tactical knives, all that, you really start to see how just a few degrees you really start to see how just a few degrees make a huge difference in the cutting performance of the knife. So, back to your original question. Yes, it is okay to sharpen everything the same. However, as you progress in your experience and knowledge, you'll start to learn what works best for you. And that really is what's most important, because a lot of people shoot out numbers and degrees, and I don't even think half the people haven't even measured them out. In fact, until I was really asked, I've never sat down to figure exactly what angle I'm sharpening my knives at. It's just experience. Experience, you learn as you sharpen. Okay, well, this was a little bit too, I was holding a little bit too low. I need to bring it up just a little bit. Okay, well, this edge, I think it can do better, so I'm going to take that angle down a little bit more and see just how it will perform. Because even with the Genesis good steel sharpened at 19 degrees, I have some users that just destroy their edges. And so when I get their knife back and they've ruined the edge and they haven't had that knife for a real long time, then I bring their angle up steeper, because obviously they're using that knife harder than another user. And so I sharpen that knife according to the steel, the use, and the user. So I hope this answers your question. And if you guys have any other questions, please feel free to shoot Jack an email. I'll help answer them best I can. If you want to learn more about sharpening and how to sharpen with Japanese whetstones, then be sure to go to my site, mtknives.net. Pick up a copy of Beyond Razor Sharp. I hope you have a great weekend. This has been Patrick Rohrman, Jack's personal knife maker, mtknives.net. Have a good day.